morning, traders. Welcome back to today's OVTLYR Live, where we cover the biggest headlines today and what the AI trading data has to say about it. If you're interested in that, be sure to definitely hit the subscribe button down below. Our top stories of the day on this Valentine's Day is inflation. Hey, it's not gone. It continues to rise. And in fact, it actually just rose a little bit faster than it was expected to, which nobody is wanting to see anymore. And second story of the day is Tesla just announced a giant new project, and I, for one, am extremely excited about that. Tune in for all that and more on today's OVTLYR Live. All right, inflation continues to rise, rising faster than expected in January, and that is leaving high prices to persist. Now, the core number, I think it was like 3.1% versus 2.9% was the expectation. But in all reality, right, we're not just dealing with 3.1%. It's 3.1% on top of all the cumulative changes over time. Think about it this way, right? You put your money in the bank, and 1 year you're making 3%, which is great. All right, cool. 1 year you're making 5%. 1 year you're making 9%. 1 year you're making 4%. 1 year you're making 3%. So you've got this huge hump, right? You've got this huge hump, and you're thinking, changes, right? There's been some changes here. And over that entire time, it didn't just go up by the 3 or 4%. No, it actually had some peaks and valleys, and cumulatively, it's expanded exponentially to your account. Now, the same thing has happened with inflation, but on this hand, it's not so good, right? On this hand, it's not a great thing to have, but the media wants to keep lying to you and telling you just how great it is that we've won the war on inflation. In fact, I saw this video, and I'm going to play the clip of it here, where Bill Maher actually talks with guest Jillian Michaels from Biggest Loser. Like, who cares? But apparently, Jillian Michaels actually is pretty based. Jillian Michaels is actually spitting a lot of truth here. And Bill Maher, he doesn't even know how to handle it.
We won the pandemic economically. I mean, America...
Did? God, I don't feel that way. Explain it to me. I feel like inflation's insane.
Inflation is not insane.
Bill, go buy a car.
There's numbers. I understand. Things, but it has
tripled here.
Look, I get that people
buy some eggs.
I mean, dude can't even comprehend how to respond to Jillian Michaels. He's just laughing it off. He's like, numbers are telling us that we've won the war on inflation. Dude, seriously, as Jillian Michaels was just saying, go buy a car, go buy a house, go buy some eggs. And if you weren't sitting in a $20 million mansion, maybe you would see the difference. And I think that was actually pretty cool. I have a newfound respect for Jillian Michaels that I was not expecting to have. But let's take a look at this, right? Inflation rose more than expected in January, thanks to a jump in grocery and housing costs, underscoring the challenges of taming price pressures within the economy. The Labor Department said Tuesday that the CPI, a broad measure of the price of everyday goods, including gasoline, rose 0.3% in January from the previous month, and that prices climbed 3.1% from the same time last year. Both of those figures came in higher than the expectation forecast, right? So 0.2 and 2.9 versus 0.3 and 3.1. And this is what I'm talking about here, right? I don't know if it's in here. It's on the tweet that we're going to discuss here in a minute, right? How cumulative inflation is up like 20+% in some things. But this is what I'm talking about, right? Yes, period over period, it's not that great of a change. Cumulatively, it's enormous, right? Cumulatively, we're talking 20+% increase on everything. And 20+% actually feels pretty small, right? I'll never forget the day I went to Walmart, right? I didn't go to a fancy Whole Foods. I didn't go to Market Street. I went to Walmart to get milk and cereal for my kids. I got a bag of Fruit Loops and 2 jugs of Fairlife milk, and it was $17. Milk, cereal, $17. I was like, what is happening, right? And I'm not the only one who's seeing this, right? This giant spike in inflation continues to rule over everybody, right? Inflation has been slow to retreat. Core prices, which exclude the more volatile instruments like food and energy, climbed 0.4%. And it rose 3.9% annually. Both of those figures are higher than estimates. The report indicates that while inflation is falling considerably from the 9.1% peak, it's still well above the 2% target. Now, here is some information. I don't have the data in front of me. It's anecdotal, but I'm very excited about. So first is home prices are down 18% from their peak during 2022, I believe is when it peaked. So home prices are down 18%. Auto prices are continuing to go down. I believe the last figure I saw was down 4.1% month over month. Now, while that doesn't sound like a lot, this is exactly what we need to see. This is what the point of raising rates was to see by raising rates, people are not able to afford as high of a cost on those type of assets, specifically homes and autos, which are the two that generally require financing for pretty much everybody out there. So if the cost of finance has gone up so much and the cost of the asset's gone up so much, the only way for anybody to buy the asset who used to be able to when rates were lower is for the price of the asset to come down. And we're actually starting to see that, which if you're a homeowner or if you are if you bought one of the cars during COVID when you paid that huge dealer markup, yeah, you're going to be upside down on some of these things, right? But overall, the economy needs prices to cool off. That was the whole point of raising rates. And then McDonald's, I thought this was the most incredible thing that I had seen. We covered this story last week. McDonald's, in some places, they were charging $18 for a Big Mac combo. And like that's straight garbage food. Why would you even buy that? But $18 for a Big Mac combo. I can go to a decent restaurant and have a real meal and have a waitress or waiter, or a server, I should say, bring me the food without having to lift a finger and have my drinks refilled and everything else for $18 or less. Like nobody needs to be paying $18 for McDonald's. But the point with that is that they missed their sales target bigly, as Trump would say. They missed their sales target bigly. They had like a 4.7% projected growth in sales, and they came in at like a 3-point-something% decline. That's a giant spread between the two. And consider that they increased prices during this time, right? So they increased prices, yet they still couldn't tap into the growth that they wanted, which means that their unit sales tanked. Their unit sales, the number of sales that McDonald's made, tanked. And that is exactly what we want to see. So I actually have some hope in the economy that we might start seeing the disinflation, the deflation that we actually want to see. The problem that people in the know, right, the people who are in charge, especially during election year, the problem, and people like Bill Maher who have completely lost touch with reality, is that inflation happens so fast that we remember how much things used to cost, right? We're only talking 3-4 years ago. And then 3-4 years, it feels like everything's doubled or tripled. Everything across the board. And then you've got people like him saying, we've won the battle of inflation. It didn't even hurt us, right? That's not true. It hurt a lot. And now companies are finally starting to lower their prices, which is exactly what we want to see. We had a stat earlier that we covered on one of these episodes earlier, a while ago, where the inflation had gone up and money supply had gone down. Money supply meaning what's on deposit in institutions. Money supply had gone down, yet prices had not started to come down. And that was the first time ever that we had actually seen that stat. So I'm glad to see that prices are starting to come down. So here's my prediction, right? This is Chris's prediction. I had this conversation with some people the other day. I think we're in for short-term pain. Short-term pain meaning that prices are about to fall off a cliff. Right. I think the consumer who has maxed out all their credit cards, I think the consumer who has withdrawn all excess savings since COVID, I think the consumer is finally about to have the power that they want and say, we're going to stop buying. And you as companies are going to have to start lowering prices back to what we expect them to be. Now, what we could see is a deflationary death spiral where, let's say, for example, I need to sell my house at $500,000 to make any sort of profit, but I can't find a buyer at 500, so I lower it to 400. And then nobody's buying it at 400, so I need to lower it again to 300. And even at that point, people are still not even interested in buying the house, so I got to lower it to 250. That's a giant death spiral. Now, that could happen across the real estate market, auto market, retail, anything you can think of. We could see a spiral like that, which on one hand is great, but on the other hand, it could be problematic. Now, I'm not thinking that it will be problematic. I think once we hit a point where prices are at a affordable level, the economy will start to pick up on its own. And I also think Jerome Powell will cut rates aggressively when the deflationary spiral starts. I think he will aggressively cut rates because that's what he does. Jerome Powell's either all the way on the gas or all the way on the brake. So I think we're going to have 2024 could be a contentious year while inflation tops and then starts to come down and we start to see deflation. But I think 2025, in fact, I would put my money on recessionary environment through the first half of 2025, the next 18 months or so. Once we've achieved, just go back to 2008, right? When prices crashed on everything, right? And while it hurts during that time, once you reach a final floor, it's a very prosperous time for a lot of people. So that's Chris's prediction here. About 18 months of recessionary speaking, real deflation that's going to be coming up. And then once we hit that floor, probably midway through 2025, an incredible decade ahead of us for the United States economy. That's just my opinion. I could be 100% wrong, but at least that's the tea leaves that I'm reading. So let's take a look at what the AI trading data has to say about the economy, right? We actually got a sell signal on the Qs, on the NASDAQ, QQQ today, on Happy Valentine's Day. It's time to sell your stock. And in fact, the QQQ, the NASDAQ, has been on an incredible run recently, showing a signal return of 124.75%. So if you want to get your hands on these incredible returns just like this, be sure to head over to OVTLYR.deal.com. That's OVTLYR deal.com. So you can see these buy and sell signals that we show every single day over on OVTLYR. So let's take a look at what the internet's saying about this, right? While CPI is at 3.1%, which doesn't seem like much, cumulative inflation is so much higher, right? Let's see. Car insurance, 20%. Boy, my car insurance is coming up in about 60 days. I'm not looking forward to that. Transportation, 9%. Hospital, 6%. Car repair inflation, 6%. Homeowner inflation, 6%. Rent inflation, let me turn that off. Rent inflation, 6%. Food away from home, 5%. Both core CPI and headline CPI came in hotter than expectations. It's the second straight month with both readings being higher than expected. Markets have priced out 2 interest rate cuts in 2024 over the last 6 weeks. Affordability is still getting worse. This is part of my thesis here, right? We're going to start seeing rates be so high, companies cut back, companies cut prices, and then it's going to be a very quick deflationary measure, and then rates will be slammed back to the floor. That's my prediction here. Let's see what people say on the internet here. These price increases are all happening despite energy prices being more or less contained for the moment. What happens if energy prices start to rise because of inflation, geopolitical issues, or other supply and demand dynamics? I don't know. Not Larry Fink says inflation is up 19.2% compared to pre-pandemic levels. Wages are not up more than 10%. The Fed printing trillions at 0% interest only serve the top 1%. Jim Cramer saying the quiet part out loud. Shelter prices are going up because of the large inflow of illegal immigrants. I'm not even going to go down that path. I don't know where you get your numbers from, but they do not represent where I live. Homeowners insurance is up 40%. Electricity up 40%. Food prices are 100% higher than a year or two ago. My grocery bill is up between 60 to 80%. Don't look at reports, just go and buy something. Yeah, inflation is not gone yet. And while I know that this is temporary, we're going to see some bearishness in the economy. And then I think we're going to see all sunshine and rainbows. But we got a big storm to get through before we get to that point. All right, Tesla is announcing one of their biggest projects yet, building the world's largest supercharger with 164 stalls and a solar canopy. Now, I am a Tesla fanboy. I drive a Tesla Model Y. And if you don't like that, why don't you head on over to the other channel? But there are awesome opportunities coming up with Tesla lately, right? And I do have to wonder, this is just my opinion. This is no basis in reality, other than my own opinion, I think that big oil is in charge of all these smear campaigns for Teslas, because it's like every other day you see some sort of, oh, this Tesla caught fire. Oh, this Tesla recall. Oh, this bad thing. Oh, that bad thing. But you're not seeing that with Toyota. You're not seeing that with Ford. You're not seeing that with GM, right? There always seem to be the news stories. All the negative news stories center around Tesla. And I can't imagine that all these other automakers are completely scot-free. So I'm not sure why, but I have a feeling that big oil is in charge of that, right? Because if Tesla has their way, they're going to continue to put up all these supercharger stations all over the place, right? Tesla's about to build the largest supercharger in the world with its supercharger network in Kerr County, California, with 164 charging stalls. Now, solar canopies and pull-through stalls. And honestly, like having my Tesla Model Y, I've always wondered why there's the giant glass sunroof instead of solar panels on top. That would make a ton of sense to me to at least get some sort of trickle charge just free from the sun. But I'm glad to see they're going to put it here. The latest project extends beyond numbers. It introduces a comprehensive design that incorporates solar canopies over each parking stall, ensuring that energy used for charging comes from a reliable, renewable source. And it will have 16 pull-through stalls catering to towing trailers and definitely the Cybertrucks, right? Which makes a lot of sense. We need to have more and more of these pull-through stalls for the Cybertrucks. I saw a video a couple days ago. It's one of the channels I follow. It's TFL Truck, TFL Now, TFL EV. They have several channels out there. But they got their hands on a Cybertruck and went on a towing trip. And as you can expect, the towing range was significantly degraded versus a diesel or gas truck. That's just the way it is, right? And I think that when people have the expectations of what to expect, right? When people know what to expect when they get into an EV, then they will treat it a little bit differently, right? Like all these people in Chicago who their Tesla cars just froze up and died, they didn't know how to plan for cold weather. Yes, it does consume more energy in the cold. So, do you know how much it costs to fill up my Tesla from 0 to 100%? It's about $8. $8 in electricity. That's it. So I'd have to fill up 10 times for it to be equivalent in price to what it costs to fill up my wife's SUV. So yeah, there is a bit of a learning curve. But these pull-through stalls and this new 164 stall charger is going to make it a lot easier for those who are towing. S-Type says, happy Hershey and Hallmark and De Beers consumerism and debt day to all. Yes, absolutely. Happy Valentine's Day to you. Yeah, this is pretty cool. We're going to have 164 stalls all the way around here. And one of my favorite places to go is Buc-ee's. I don't know if you have a Buc-ee's where you live, but the Buc-ee's all around me, they all have superchargers. And that is really, really sweet. Whenever I go on a road trip, I make sure to stop at a Buc-ee's because I can get out, plug in my car, takes no time. There is no putting the card in, no reading, no waiting. I get out 4 seconds later, it's already plugged in. I can walk into Buc-ee's, use the restroom, grab a drink, maybe grab a snack and head out. I've got 50% charge in the span of about 10 minutes. Like it goes so fast that I really was anxious about the whole refueling issue when it comes to Teslas. But now having had one for almost a year at this point and experiencing road trips, charging on the road, charging at home, I can tell you it is the future. But I'm just really wondering, why is there always bad news when it comes to Teslas? I don't know. Tesla diner exterior looking close to being complete. Crew working on Saturday after heavy rains. Oh, here we go. I guess we're going right to that tweet here. Oh, cool. We can check it out. It looks like something from Disney World or something they're building, doesn't it? Right? Some sort of cool structure there. But they're going to have 164 charging stalls, which is awesome. The U.S. right now has over 2,700 active Tesla superchargers and more than 700 since October. There are more than 2,400 superchargers, stations, and 55,000 charging stalls. So at the end of the day, the mass consumer adoption of EVs is going to rely less on government mandates and more on refueling with batteries, recharging, right? as well as understanding of the product that you're driving. Yes, I can get behind the fact of, hey, I don't want to have to learn how to drive the car. I learned how to drive the car when I was 15 or 16, and I just get in, put in gas, and go. Times are changing, right? And if we're going to have EVs rule the future, which I still am a believer of that, then people are just going to have to learn how to use their EVs. And here we go. Tesla Cybertruck turns the tables, shows power in the snow, pulling out a stuck Ford truck. So let's take a look at what the AI trading data has to say on Tesla. It's showing a 189.97% return over time. And we're showing some pretty extreme fear right now inside of Tesla. So maybe now's an opportunity. We did get a buy signal back on December 22nd. Maybe now's an opportunity to buy Tesla if you are interested in being a Tesla owner. And let's take a look out. And be sure to head over to OVTLYRdeal.com to get your hands on these signals as well for one very small lifetime price. Tesla is planning to build the world's largest new supercharger, right? And this person says, can we just get one in Victoria, wherever that is, right? Where at? Can't they just partner with Buc-ee's already? Like I was just talking about. Buc-ee's was actually pretty sweet when they got their chargers. Impressive move by Tesla. Building the world's largest supercharger station shows their commitment to expanding the EV infrastructure. With this kind of forward thinking, it's no wonder they continue to lead the charge in the electric vehicle industry. Now, I actually have a friend who works at Toyota, and he had, this is funny. There's a new Toyota EV that just came out. And one of his jobs is actually to drive the cars around for a week or two. And one day he showed up with the Mercedes. One day he showed up with the Tesla EV. And one day he showed up with this Toyota EV. And he's like, dude, this is awful. This is garbage. I hate this car so much. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, it's slow. It sucks. It's so hard to find a charger because it still has the CCS charger. And he's like, man, like I would hate to have bought this. I can't even tell you why they put this to market. And I was like, wow, that is so interesting, right? And it's like, it's totally different between a Tesla and everybody else, right? Ford, GM, and others are cutting back on their EV productions because people don't want an EV. They want a Tesla. And because they want a Tesla, that's why the Model Y was the greatest selling car in the world in 2023. And it's not even close. And what else is not even close is the fact that I have no idea how the YouTube algorithm works, but it tells me that you're going to love one of these two videos. So be sure to click those to watch more, and I'll see you on the next episode.